Hello, hello, hello. Hope that you are having a great today on this, what's turned out to be a pretty nice Saturday here in the Texas area. Um, Checking to see if everything's good to go. Decided to do this kind of a last minute live because I was already dressed, frankly. On a nice day like today, I normally, especially Saturday, I might like to just kind of stay in my jammies, um, and not plan on going anywhere or doing anything. But today was my mother's birthday. So we had a birthday lunch for her. And so since I was dressed somewhat, my hair, I'm still on this hair journey. Um, I was dressed with makeup on. I thought, let's get this live in here to go over our fourth grade homeschool curriculum choices. So please, along the way, if you have any questions, let me add something to the chat here. Any questions for me? If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. Because I will be happy to answer for you if I have an answer. If I don't, I'll tell you. Because sometimes, we don't have answers. But okay, so fourth grade. So if you haven't seen already, I've already shared our curriculum choices for ninth grade and sixth grade over the last couple of weeks. I share them during this time of year, sometime during the year, partly because I don't have all my ish together, by March, May, June, when most people are sharing their curriculum choices for the next year. I could tell you what I'm planning to do the next year, but I know it's probably going to change, is what I'm saying. So it wouldn't be very accurate information. The other reason is because I don't find that's very helpful, especially if I'm choosing to use new curriculum, curriculum that I have not chosen before, have not used before. And so that leaves me just telling you, instead of saying, yeah, I chose this curriculum because I think it's going to be awesome, because I've used it before, because it's amazing, because it really works for my kid. Instead of saying that, what I end up telling you is whatever the marketing for that curriculum has told you, or has told me. I'm using this curriculum because they say it does this, this, and this. And isn't that awesome? And I'm not really interested in advertising for somebody, for any curriculum that in my mind is not proven yet. So I'm really liking the idea of doing these curriculum choice videos or lives later on during the school year, so that I can give you a little more of an accurate assessment of whether I like it or not, and how well it's working, and does it live up to whatever the marketers have said about it. Does it live up to whatever hype there is about it? Because I'll tell you, there's one I'm going to share with you today that I knew that it's not good, in my opinion. I've even done a review on it before where I tell you exactly why I don't like it. But I had high hopes for it when I originally chose it. I thought this would be great. This is a perfect solution. And I was really disappointed. So one of the choices I have on the list today is one of those. But now, since it's the middle school year, since I've started using it, I can tell you exactly why I don't like it, and maybe what I wish I'd chosen instead. So that's kind of why I do it this time of year. Also, you may be wondering, this is the Christmas season as I'm going live here today. Christmas is in 9-10 days. So this may be the time of year when you're taking the Christmas break and maybe rethinking what you're going to be using when you come back after the Christmas break. Maybe you've had it with one of the choices that you've made, one of the curriculum choices you've made, and are taking the time during the Christmas break, taking a minute or two here and there to investigate other options. So I'm hoping that I can help you with that, with my assessment of what we've chosen. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions along the way, and then let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so fourth grade. So my youngest is in fourth grade. He's 9 years old. I have three boys that I homeschool, and I have been homeschooling for. See, my oldest is in ninth grade this year, and we started homeschooling when he was first grade. So this is, I guess, our ninth year of homeschooling. So over the years, I've used a variety of curricula, and have enjoyed investigating different options. And so some of what I have to share with you are tried and true options, and some are choices that I've made and wish I hadn't. So there's a variety here. Some that were new but are working out okay. So I've got a little bit of a variety here for you. These are the subjects I'm going to go over. So take a gander. If you're watching during the replay, go ahead and look in the description box. At some point after I go live, usually a day or two later, I try to do it faster, but that's just not working out because YouTube has to process the video and this and that. So at some point after, I go through and include timestamps for each of these areas. So that you can just click. So like if you're looking for a new spelling curriculum, you can just click on the spelling timestamp and jump right to it, and skip my rambling for the subjects that you're not interested in. All right, so I always like to start with math. This is the option that I've been probably the most confident about using MathUC. I started using MathUC, I think, our first year of homeschooling because it had a great reputation. And this is one of those that I feel like lived up to the hype. We did take a break a couple of years, or with various kids. Over the years, I've tried other curriculum options, and this has been other math curriculum options, and this has been my favorite one because it's mastery based and also has a lot of review in it. There are for each week, the kids watch a video. The success of the video is that's maybe not as not their strongest point, the strongest part of the curriculum, the videos. It kind of depends on which kid is using the curriculum to know whether or not which kid likes the videos. But in general, I would say it's not their strongest part of the curriculum, but there is a video to watch. And if nothing else, even if my child doesn't like it, at least I can see the video instead of having to dig through the manual and read through what the instruction manual, read through that lesson. I like just watching the video with my child if they're struggling, and then so I can get an idea of what they're being instructed to do and how they're being instructed, because that makes a difference. And then we can look at the worksheets. And on the worksheets, there are practice worksheets for that lesson practice worksheets for that particular lesson, where they just practice the new concept, the new learning for that lesson. And then there are systematic review pages where they practice that concept and also previously learned concepts. So I love that. To me, that's the best thing, because sometimes we need to use maybe fewer lesson practice worksheets, but need to use all the systematic review worksheets. But you can kind of pick and choose how you do it. So, there have been years where I've had my kids each day do a lesson practice worksheet and then also a systematic review worksheet, or where maybe Monday and Tuesday we do lesson practice, and then Wednesday and Thursday do systematic review worksheets. So you can kind of customize it in that way for what your child needs and how your year is going. And then there's also a test booklet that you can use if you want to test your homeschool. I usually do use that, and so then Fridays we have each of my kids has a test. And so anyway, this has been working out pretty well. It's using the Gamma level. MathUC is one of those homeschool, or the Demi Learning is one of those homeschool curriculum companies that chooses not to name each level of their curriculum with a grade level, because that really doesn't mean a whole lot. Your child might be doing kind of fourth grade level work in one subject and fifth grade in another and then third grade in another. So it just kind of depends. So I like that they name them in other ways because it doesn't really matter. You just got to be teaching where your kid's at. And that's the most important part, that you're not going above their head and that it's not too easy. So this gamma level, though, probably if we'd been using it straight, Matthew C straight from the time my son was in kindergarten, then we wouldn't. He might be in the next level. I will say that. He's in the gamma level this year because last year I used Power Homeschool for math for all of my kids, and I really regret that because I feel like it was a wasted year in math. I highly recommend workbook curriculum for math, not online, unless it's just a supplement. And I'm going to show you a supplement as well. So anyway, that's why he's in the gamma level. If you're wondering, what level should my kid be in? First of all, they should be in the level that's right for them. And there may be placement tests on the website if you're still unsure. Second of all, it doesn't matter what level. I have my fourth grade student, and you need to go with your gut with your kid, because your child may be ahead of mine or a little behind, but there's really no behind. There's just what's at their level. There's a progression of what to learn in math and how to learn math, and so we just need to be where they are in that progression. Okay, so I was going to show you this supplementary thing I use for math, at least for my fourth grader, and my oldest used it as well. It's called Extra Math. This isn't the homepage of Extra Math. This is just a page I wanted to show you so you can kind of get an idea of what it is. So they do a little assessment placement quiz periodically, and on either addition, whatever you choose for them. It could be addition or subtraction or multiplication, division. Is there division, or does it just go up to multiplication? I can't remember. But some math operation. And they basically do flashcards. It's kind of like online flashcards for them. They're given a problem like 6 plus 2 and a little bit of time, a few seconds to answer it correctly. And if they answer it correctly, then they move on. If they don't answer correctly or don't answer it at all, it'll show the answer. It'll show 8 kind of grayed out down here. And then it'll move on to the next one. And so the idea is this is how they learn, that if they don't know the answer, they have to type in the 8 once the 8 is shown, and then they can move on. And the software assesses their mastery of the operations. So they won't move. This fluency, they call it the fluency matrix, will be filled with green when they have all of them, when they know them all really well, after repeated correct answers and within the allotted amount of time. And so you see, this is how it might look like during the time that they're learning, they're becoming fluent in an operation. So then we have here, so you see, you can do it for addition, you can do subtraction, you can do multiplication, you can have them do it all. And so I will say that this is not the supplement to use for your student who really struggles with kind of mentally with timed activities. I mentioned before, 2 of my kids are on the autism spectrum, and so one of them, none of them really enjoy using this. I'll say that. But one of my autistic kids really struggles with the timing. It just kind of messes with his head. You can turn off, I think there's a stopwatch type, like a countdown at some point. I think you can turn that off. Maybe I'm getting apps confused, but I think this is one of those you could turn that off to help them. But they still know it's timed, and that just stressed him out so much. So he wasn't able to use this. But I'm having my youngest use it. He's not the biggest fan, but I'm having him use it because he's in the multiplication level of Matthew C, in order to help him to become fluent in that. But actually, I started him off with addition. I thought, why not? And so he finished addition pretty quickly, and now he's in the subtraction level and making his way through that. It's not that he doesn't know how to subtract. It's just we want the answers real quick. We want them to answer real quick in order to become really fluent. That makes all of math easier if they have memorized all of these basic operations. And so after he's done with subtraction, it'll move on to multiplication. So even though I have him use it because of the multiplication, decided why not start off from addition, and so that's what we're doing. And so let's see, let's go back to the slides. So you see this is the single and multiple digit multiplication. Okay, so that's what we're doing for math. I'm pretty happy with that choice. I think it was a good one, the one we needed after doing Power Homeschool last year. All right, now on to English, or the language arts, and this is split up into different areas of focus. So first off, for writing, he's using IW structure and style level 1A. So this is split up into the structure and style program is split up into 2 years. That's why this is level 1A. The next level is level 2A. My 6th grader is actually using that level. The A, it can be A, B, or C, and the letter designation, I believe, is for the level of the source text that's used to create their outlines and to write from, basically. Source text that's used in conjunction with the program. So A is the lowest level, and then C would be like for high school. So I have my 4th grader using A, and actually also my 6th grader, because why not? This isn't a reading comprehension curriculum. This is a writing curriculum. I want the source text to be as simple as possible for them, and it's still, it's not like kindergarten. I'd say 4th grade might be the earliest you want to use this program. Maybe you're very precocious 3rd grader who's really skilled in language arts, but I'll say that my 4th grader, I would say he's probably gifted in language. See, my hair's driving crazy right here. My 4th grader is probably gifted in language because he's let's just say he has a way with words. His vocabulary cracks me up. He's just, sometimes I'm like, where do you get this stuff? So he's just one of those kids, that speaks like he's older, and then with that attitude. I was saying to that lunch at the birthday lunch that he's like 9 going on 29. Sometimes he acts like he's a businessman come home from a hard day's work, and that's just kind of how he talks. So even though he's very skilled with using language, that's one way to put it, still level 1A, because I don't want any hiccups in the actual learning to write well part. That's the hard part, right? That's the new stuff. So he's doing level 1A for that. And it's a good option. I've been really happy with it. I love IEW's curricula, and I use it with all of my kids. Okay, the next language arts focus is spelling, using Spelling You See. This comes from Demi Learning as well, who does the Matthew C curricula. This is their spelling curricula. And so you see it's not 4th grade spelling, is that this level is called Americana. Again, if we use this from the start, this probably wouldn't be the level he would be at, but we've used some different spelling options, and this is the one I settled on for him that I like the best for him and my 6th grader. It's basically copy work, and they focus on chunking parts of words, which would be your, like, the phonics based portion of it, but they don't go into details about the different spelling chunks, is what they call them, like All About Spelling does, for example. It's just for them to notice that they're there and to pick up patterns as they're doing the copy work. And then there's a dictation element. And that's probably my least favorite part because that's the part that needs to parent. And also the first day. This is a 5-day a week curriculum, so the first day they use the first day for each week. Uh, they need you to help them find the spelling chunks, make sure they got them on, to kind of go over any new learning about like tricky Y guy and that type of stuff. Um, and then after that, they can do the copy work themselves. But then the dictation page, you need to dictate for them so that they can not be looking at the words while they're writing them. They have to do it from memory. And so at first I was like, but this is valuable. I mean, even All About Spelling has a dictation element. At least this was once a week at first, but now I think this is the first level where it's twice a week. So it's Thursday and Friday, but it's really valuable. I have found that because on the Thursday dictation, the first dictation, that's when we're finding out what words they're struggling with, so that maybe we can discuss that a little bit more. And then the Friday dictation, the second dictation, I'm really pleased with how often, once they get to that second dictation, those words that they had trouble with on the first dictation, they're now good with, or at least for that second dictation, they remember, oh yeah, that's right, this word is spelled this way. So like this past week, the copy work was on something about Abraham Lincoln, and the copy work was really kind of interesting stuff about like on this Americana level, American history type information that kids might find interesting. So it was a little paragraph about why Abraham Lincoln grew a beard. So even though in the chunking part of it, we had discussed that Lincoln has a silent letter in it, that second L. When it came to the first dictation, my son had completely forgotten that, even though he'd been doing the copy work that week. He completely forgot that. And so then we were able to discuss it again. Hey, remember, it has that silent letter. Do you remember the silent letter? And he's like, oh yeah, there's an L. So then when we did the second dictation, he remembered that. He didn't need me to correct him on that. So it was really worked out really well. And so I'm happy with how this is going. We're going to continue using Spelling UC with him and with my middle son, probably. All right, so handwriting. So he's been learning cursive. And so I chose this, I think the company is Half a Hundred Acre Wood, their Script and Scribe program. I got the bundle. I went more into detail about this in my live for my 6th grader, because I'm using this with him as well. So if you're interested, you can go look at that and go look for the timestamp for the handwriting or cursive, whatever I wrote in there in the description box. And by the way, the description box is also later on going to have links to all of these different curriculum options that I'm sharing with you. All right. Anyway, so if you want more detail about Script and Scribe, go look at that 6th grade live replay. I'll just say that for my 4th grader, I started this last year, and we used the first part of the bundle, which was just a basic learning how to make the letters in cursive. And so this year he's been doing this letter connector PDF, and this is downloadable curriculum from the internet. And so we use you can either print it out, or I use it in GoodNotes with my son, with my youngest. And so we've been in this letter connector one, where it's focusing more on putting the letters into words and sentences. And then when he's done with that, I'll move him to the poetry, penmanship, and memorization PDF in the bundle, which is, again, basically poetry copy work, but in cursive. And there's a memorization aspect to the program, which we don't use. I'm just using it for the copy work. So that's working out pretty well. There's a couple, like, I don't love the way they do their O's, because I feel like you circle around and loop to go to your next letter. I don't know. Well, you're probably not going to be able to see this, but you circle around and loop to your next letter. And I feel like the loop goes down too far. So it looks almost like an A. Like, I feel like that confuses him a little bit, or I have to spell out to him. I mean, you can see it here in the or. I wish that loop didn't go down as far. I like in Handwriting Without Tears how they point out that letters like O are toe track letters, where you the R isn't going to look the way it normally looks because it's like it's being held up by this what's coming from the O, stroke coming from the O in letters like W and all. So I don't love that because I feel like I've had to explain to him a couple of times that, hey, make your O's and your A's look really different from each other. But otherwise, I really love the copywork aspect of the program. So the next one, all right, grammar. So this one's something new for us this year. Beowulf's Grammar, and I ended up really loving it. I actually came across it on, can't remember how I came across this one. It may have been through ChatGPT actually. When I've done some videos about ChatGPT, using it for homeschooling and finding curriculum. So it may have been ChatGPT. And then my friend Tanya at Project Happy Home. If you don't watch her videos, you need to go check her out. She's got a lot of great content. She told me that she really liked Beowulf's Grammar. That she's used it with one of her kids and ended up working out really well for them, and her daughter's pretty strong in grammar now. So I'm really liking this. This is not what they say, I don't think, but what I would say is this is somewhat of a mastery, like Matthew C is somewhat of a mastery based grammar program with a lot of review. That's not something I really expected, but it's there and I love it. So there's workbook pages for them to do, but it's not your typical workbook. I feel like it's like if I were going to put together a unit, if I had the patience and the knowledge to put together a unit study just on grammar for my kids with different types of activities and something that appealed to them, that this is what we would all come up with. So there's lots of different types of activities in there. It's not just your straight workbook pages, but there's also another kind of workbook, another PDF that you can get with it, which is the review pages. So most days you could do this like 4 or 5 days a week. So 4 or 5 days a week you can work from the workbook, and then also I think 3 days a week there's a little bit of review to do, and that review has been really necessary. This has always been my issue with grammar with my kids, where you really focus on something, but then there's so much to learn. A few weeks down the road, they forgot something basic. And that's frustrating. It's so frustrating because it feels like, no, we worked so hard to understand that concept, especially if you have maybe neurodivergent kids where they struggle with language and all. And we've got that in our home. Whew, so difficult. Very frustrating. But my youngest son, even though he's really good naturally with language, I've seen when we've gone and done the review that, wow, like yesterday we were doing review and working out of the review page, and it's like he forgot what a noun was. I'm like, dude, I mean, really? But it's set up, they have grammar cards that you can create, and so I told him, pull out your grammar cards, look at it to remember, and so you see how valuable those review pages are. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I don't know if he just had like Christmas brain, like, because yesterday was our last day of homeschool before our Christmas break, and he was just ready to be done. But I was like, wow, really, a noun? Okay, so for literature, I talked about this a lot in my 6th grade review video. I'll just say here that I'm using Evan Moore, which I do love. It's more traditional workbook style curricula. I've used it for a lot of different things. And this is my first year using this Read and Understand series, as far as I've used it for, I think, science before years ago with my oldest. But this is my first time using the language arts as part of the Read and Understand series. And when I did my academic objectives for my students, I saw that, okay, for my elementary students, we need to read a variety of genres. And I knew also that we really needed to work on reading comprehension. And so what I decided to do was use these 3 different workbooks, the Read and Understand fiction, and then nonfiction, and then poetry, in order to get that variety of genres. because even like within those, there's sub varieties. So within fiction, there's tall tales, there's fables, there's contemporary realistic fiction, there's historical. So there's a variety. In the nonfiction, you have different types of reading in there, biographies and sciencey type stuff, things you might see, something you might maybe see in a children's magazine or encyclopedia. So there's different types of nonfiction to read, and the poetry also, different types of poetry. So each week we read one of those. I kind of bounce between them. So we'll do like fiction and then nonfiction and fiction. So we'll do 3 weeks or 6 weeks bouncing back and forth between fiction and nonfiction. And then we'll do a week of poetry. And then we go back to bouncing back and forth between fiction and nonfiction. So each week we'll read whatever the source text was for that week, the biography, the tall tale, whatever. And then I'll do a reading comprehension worksheet with them in here. And there's usually, I think, like 4 worksheets, at least for the fiction and nonfiction. Poetry is a little bit different, but for the fiction and nonfiction, there's about 4 worksheets for each one. And so there's a reading comprehension one, usually, and then the other 3 will cover different academic objectives, vocabulary, sequencing, synonyms and antonyms, a variety of language arts academic objectives are addressed. And so that's what I'm doing with them. So I kind of cobble together a language arts curriculum using these 3 different workbooks for my youngest 2. So on Monday, we read together the story or article or whatever we're doing on, and we somewhat work on the reading comprehension together. And then the other 3 days, they're on their own unless they're having trouble something. So like recently, they both had trouble with one particular worksheet. And so I said, okay, let's get together and talk about this. So we do it together on Mondays, but after that, it's more independent work, which is what works better for my kids. And so I'm pretty happy with how that's worked out. I'm not going to do something like this every year. Sometimes I just like to assign books to them, and then I have my own worksheets that I give them that they can use with any book. And but this is covering more language arts academic objectives, which is why I'm using it. So now, social studies. All right, so for social studies, he's using level 4 of School of Tomorrow's social studies curriculum, which covers a lot of things like history and geography and all that. You can see it split up into little workbooks, which I love. There's, I guess, 12 for each year. So that's something to think about. For me, I actually prefer to do subjects like social studies and science for elementary school just twice a week. And so that this is something you may want to think about, that if you want to do the same, then you don't need a whole year's, like a whole level for your student. I think I went ahead and got all of them this year for him. Yeah, I think so. And have him working through those. Each of these little pamphlets, they're kind of like pamphlets, it feels like. They're, I guess, somewhat standalone. So you can pick and choose and buy them individually. You can buy the set together, which is what I usually do. Or you can go through and purchase them individually. So you can decide, how often do I really want to do this curriculum with my child, and what do I want to cover? This is a Christian-based curriculum, and there's aspects of it that even I don't love, in the way some, I guess, in the point of view, the biblical worldview of the writers, but it's pretty solid, I feel, as far as the academics go. So I'm happy with that. For world history, now this is more loosey-goosey for us. We're using Story of the World. Again, I discussed this more in my 9th grade and 4th grade, or 9th grade and 6th grade curriculum videos. So I'm not going to go too in depth about this. I'll just say that we don't use it the way we did in the past. We listen to the audiobook, usually a chapter every other week. More more often if we have lighter weeks. And then I have them each do oral narration for me. They just tell me for each of this little stories within each chapter after we listen to it, and go over some of the mapping, a little bit of geography with it, and discuss it a little bit. They each stand up and say, or not, sometimes they're laying down, oh, whatever position they want to be in, they tell me what they remember from that story, and that's really helped them. Sometimes they just remember, especially like my youngest, he just might remember something specific. My oldest and my middle son do a better job of remembering remembering what we were told a little more completely. And so I've been impressed with how that's worked out. And then sometimes we'll watch a YouTube video on something, whatever was particularly interesting to them out of those stories. I don't pick the video ahead of time because I don't know what it is that what we're gonna see as the most interesting. And so that's usually how we do things. And this is volume 4. And I think in my 6th grade video, I show you the website and kind of the different things you can choose from Story of the World, the different levels. So take a look at that if you're interested. Refer to this timestamp. Hopefully that's in there for world history. But anyway, we're using volume 4 now, and that's the last of the volumes, and we're going to move on to something else next year. All right, for science. Okay, this is one of those that I was not thrilled with. This is Alpha Omega's Life Pack for 3rd grade, the science units. So 3rd grade, you may ask, but isn't he 4th grade? Is he behind on science? No, this is what I chose for last year. And I have a whole review on the Alpha Omega curriculum and why I don't like it. Or specific, I'll just give you the very basic right now. I think that while the reading portion of each workbook is fine, it's set up in just smaller workbooks like the ACE curriculum that I showed you earlier, the social studies. So it's a similar type setup, which is why I chose it. So while the text of each workbook is fine, I feel that both the worksheets in the workbooks and the science experiments are lower quality. I just do. I was spoiled with the science experiments in the Berean Builders curriculum, and which is highly parent-focused, parent-led, which is why I didn't continue to use it, even though I loved the first level we used. Those were excellent experiments, explained well. Every day you had something to do, and usually it was something you just used materials you had at home, and it perfectly demonstrated the scientific concept being discussed, like really high quality. This is not that. I feel like the worksheets and the experiments sometimes are more confusing than anything else, or just unnecessary. Like, really, you want us to do that? I don't think so. So no me gusta. I don't like him. I just don't like it. Therefore, I at one point last year finally decided, it's like, you know what, we're not doing this every day. It was also requiring my kids to use it every day. I said, we're not doing this every day. I brought it back down to twice a week. And so this year I thought about just throwing out these other, because we had 7 through 10 left. And I thought about throwing them out, decided not to. For my 6th grade, I chose not to go forward with Alpha Omega and chose something else. But for my 4th grade, I thought, you know what, with him, I think he'll be okay with this. I'm just going to use what we have since I already paid for it. And so we're just doing this twice a week and finishing out these units. But I'm not a fan. I thought maybe I had a bad attitude about last year. Maybe I like it better this year. No, I still don't love it. So take a look at my full review of this curriculum, where I go into detail and I pull out the workbooks and I compare it with what I like, and I go into much more detail about it. Maybe the things that bothered me won't bother you. That's totally a possibility, but I'm not a fan. All right, so for Bible, we're using, or my youngest is using ACE, the School of Tomorrow's Bible reading curriculum, level 4, and it's working out fine. Um, it's okay. It's pretty complete. I like their Bible stuff. My oldest is using their New Testament survey, and I don't love the translation they use. Why can't any of these companies use something like? Well, I know why. Yeah, like NASB or NIV. I think it'd probably be more expensive for them to use something like that rather than a King James version. But I really hate that's something I don't like about this, the Bible translation being used, because sometimes I have to explain what words mean and how words were used, and I hate that. And I feel like scripture should, I mean, that's the whole point of translating the Bible into English, that it should be accessible to people, that you should be able to read it in your heart language. And I don't know about you, but King James English is not my heart language, so, or my kids. But other than that, it's good. All right, so for typing, he's using Typing Jungle. We've been doing this for a while. This is one of these things that I kind of set and forget. I have it scheduled for him during the week, and he just clicks on the link and does his thing. But I've got on my to-do list to pull up a word processor and see how he's doing with the typing, because he really wants to be able to type his writing assignments rather than writing them out, because the writing assignments, they do a first draft and a second draft, and that would be much easier if he's writing it out by hand, then he's writing it twice, which isn't the worst thing. But if it's typed out, you just have to go make corrections for that second draft, the final draft. And so he's really wanting to type it. I just don't know yet if he's ready to type a whole. I don't want to bring typing frustration into writing. So anyway, but the point of typing is for them to be able to type things. And so what I may do is, to type assignments, not just texting somebody. So my plan is to pull up Pages, because we use Mac, and that's the word processor, and see how he's doing, and then maybe one week have him try typing his writing assignment. There's a lot to learn there, so I'll have to give myself extra time and give him extra time on the writing assignment. But then, once he becomes accustomed to it, that won't be such a big deal. And then I may have him do like every other week, type the assignment. I don't know. We'll see. That's what I've done in the past. So we'll see how that goes. It just seems like so much of schoolwork, the writing and all, is so much easier once they can type. So that's the plan for that. And just as a reminder, I do have some playlists on my channel with homeschool curriculum choices from the past years, and also reviews of different curricula that I've used before. So you can see some of them, like Hooked on Phonics, some of my language arts curriculum reviews, Hooked on Phonics, Handwriting Without Tears, All About Spelling. The All About Spelling one's really popular. I really need to update that one because by the time we finished using All About Spelling with my oldest, I'd really changed up how I used it. Bob books that I use when my kids learn to read, some Kumon writing curriculum that we use in the past. So I have a Matthew C. review, I think Handwriting Without Tears. Probably my most popular review is the Hooked on Phonics curriculum review. And so those are available if you want to see them. If you don't see a review on something that I've talked about today and you'd like to see a review on it, let me know. I'll be happy to do it. And also let me know what you would like as a topic of the next live. I thought maybe since it's the middle of the school year and some of us are getting a little burnt out, maybe we can talk about how to make homeschooling more fun. Maybe we could talk about how to get things done at home when you're homeschooling. Maybe favorite apps for homeschooling, or favorite language arts curriculum, or what are maybe some of my all-time fave curricula that I've used, something like that. So let me know if you have have an interest in anything in particular, and I'm sure that will influence my decision. And we'll probably cover all those topics eventually. I just try and figure out what the next live's going to be. All right, so I hope you have a wonderful holiday. I probably won't do another one of these before Christmas. So I hope you have a wonderful holiday, and I hope you find some rest and refreshment, and again, rest during the season that's hard, as difficult as a parent, because we got to make all that magic happen, right? Or we feel like we have to make all that magic happen for our kids. So I hope you have a wonderful time, and that you come back after the holidays refreshed and ready to give your all to this homeschool adventure that we're on. So I will talk to you in the next live. Bye bye.